Today, walking through the streets of Mayfair, I am bringing you some independent watch making with Swiss Gallery London. This shop has only independent watch brands. What a treat to find something like this in Old Bond Street. And these brands range from your entry level watch brands all the way up to Grubel and Forsey. They also have HYT, amongst others, Parmigiani Fleurier, and also brands like Ressence, which we'll be focusing on today. Now, I'm sure that most of you are familiar with the brand Ressence, but for those of you that aren't, Ressence was founded in 2010 by a Belgian designer named Benoit Mintien. I think that's how you pronounce it. And the key thing about Ressence is the way that time is displayed. You may see here that the dial of the Type 3 on the left and the Type 05 on the right are not your conventional watch dials, nor does the watch have any visible crown. The hands are for certain not conventional. And so for those of you that are new to this, I appreciate that it can be a bit confusing on how to actually read the time on these things. But what you're seeing here on this Type 3 model is this was Riessen's first oil-filled watch introduced in 2013. And yes, you heard correctly, it's oil-filled. So the the moving subdials that you saw on the front are actually submerged or suspended rather altogether in oil, which eliminates all type of reflection. Obviously, it doesn't mean you have no reflection, but it gives this smooth look that you can see on the watch. And the moving dial that you can see is called a ROX or Ressence Orbital Convex System, which is basically a system that is constantly in motion, obviously, while the watch is already wound to show you the time. And you adjust the watch by turning the backside. That's basically how you adjust the time. So the Type 3, just like the Type 5, also have another hidden element on the underside of this beautiful dial. So the top part is oil filled, as I mentioned, but underneath sits the movement, which is magnetically separated from the upper half, so that obviously the oil doesn't go into the movement. Um, and so they are magnetically separated, which means that there is a magnetic force to move uh, there's a magnetic energy to move the dials around essentially from the movement, but they are not in direct connection as such. And this is as far as I will go with the technicalities of these watches. This is I'm already in very deep waters with my ChatGPT crash course on the technicalities of these watches, so I'd rather not go any further. But as I said, you adjust them by using the backside, and this is what the Type 03 looks like on my wrist, which I think it's really nice looking. They are rather on the large side, but they also wear very different to conventional watches, I must say. Now, how do you actually read those watches? So you see the large hand on this Type 3, the large hand is your minutes, whereas you can then separately read the hour on the smaller disc, which is not that small, but it's that central disc that you saw on the top left. And then you also have the weekdays on this one. So the two red dots are your weekends. So if your hand is on the first white dot after the last red one, if that makes sense, going from left to right, you know that the last red dot is your Sunday, and that's how you then know which day of the week it is. Now, this is the Type 05, and you may see some notable differences here. It's a slightly different layout, but you also have a rotating bezel. And this is because this is actually a dive watch. Now, it's 100 meters water resistant, which is obviously less than your usual dive watch, but it is, however, ISO certified. And you might hear some seagulls there. That's actually perfect timing talking about a dive watch. Yeah. And the cool thing about this being an oil filled dive watch, so the mechanism is similar to the Type 03, is that when you're underwater, for those of you courageous enough to take your watch underwater, you may notice that on normal watches, the dial is usually distorted underwater, which can make it quite difficult to read the time. But because this one is oil filled, you won't have those distortions and reflections, which is quite a cool thing. And unlike a power reserve on the Type 03, you here can read the temperature of the oil, something along those lines. Again, I'm not entirely sure how it works. It's a temperature gauge, and it helps you to know when the oil expands as you do, I guess. But it's, yeah, as I said, it's a really they're really intriguing watches. It's something very, very different. And it was great for me to finally get hands on with these. And I'd like to know what you guys think of Ressence as a brand. I think they are very intriguing. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and this deep dive about Ressence. A short deep dive, but still a deep dive for me. Um, and if you did, please do let me know in the comments. Do leave a like. Any engagement with the video really helps to support the channel, but it also helps me understand what type of things that you guys would like to see. And if you want to see a bit more independent watch brands, I would love to visit Swiss Gallery again to have a bit of a closer look at some of the other brands that they have on offer there. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Ciao.